The 2025 Formula One season is more than just a changing of the guard. It's a full-blown generational reset. With fresh young talent flooding the grid, some of the sport's most seasoned drivers have been left standing on the sidelines. Among them, Sergio Perez, Valtteri Bottas, and Kevin Magnussen. Perez is reportedly eyeing a return via Cadillac's much-hyped entry into F1. Bottas, ever the pragmatic Finn, has stepped into a reserve role at Mercedes and recently tested an older Silver Arrow following the Miami Grand Prix. But it's Kevin Magnussen who's taken a different road, one that leads away from F1, and yet offers a surprising insight into one of the biggest stories of the year, Lewis Hamilton's rocky start with Ferrari. Magnussen, now racing in both the World Endurance Championship and the IMSA Sports Car Series, isn't looking back. Teaming up with none other than MotoGP icon Valentino Rossi for the Spa 24 Hours, the 32-year-old Dane is writing a new chapter in motorsport. But it's his reflections on his time in F1 and how much the cars have changed that echo loudly in 2025. And when he talks about how different today's F1 cars are compared to a decade ago, it's not just a technical observation. It's a window into why even a 7-time world champion like Lewis Hamilton can suddenly look out of place. In a recent interview with Express, Magnussen didn't mince words. It's very different. Suddenly the cars are super low and very stiff, he said. The tire sidewalls are low. It feels totally different, and the driving style you need is a bit different too. The old cars were so open you could really push them. The new cars with ground effect and stiff suspension, you have to treat them more like a freestyle dance step by step. You're not free in your driving style anymore. That right there? That's the key. Hamilton made his name in an era where artistry behind the wheel was everything. He carved his lines through corners with finesse, leaned on breaking points like a jazz musician feeling his solo. But this new breed of car? It demands discipline over flair. It's less Miles Davis and more metronome. Less instinct, more algorithm. Hamilton's move to Ferrari was supposed to be legendary. A late career romance between F1's biggest star and its most iconic team. But so far, it's been more awkward first date than fairy tale. Despite the team's promise and his own experience, Hamilton is still trailing behind Charles Leclerc. And it's not just a matter of raw speed. Hamilton has admitted that Ferrari's braking system feels foreign to him. Less connected, less intuitive than what he had at Mercedes. And in modern F1, where lap time deltas are measured in thousandths, that kind of disconnect is lethal. To make things trickier, Leclerc is the one calling the setup shots at Ferrari. For a driver who spent over a decade being the centerpiece of development at Mercedes, it's a cultural shift as much as a technical one. The Prince of Silverstone is now a guest in someone else's castle. The growing pains became painfully public at the Chinese Grand Prix. Both Hamilton and Leclerc were disqualified post-race for excessive plank wear, a consequence of Ferrari running the car too low to the ground. Ironically, Hamilton is famous for preferring a low ride height, exploiting every inch of downforce. But the SF25, like the rest of this new-gen machinery, punishes that approach. The stiffer setups, harsher curbs, and unforgiving underbodies mean the margin for error is razor thin. And when the FIA comes knocking with a ruler and a rulebook, there's no room for legacy or legend. What Magnussen has helped illuminate, without ever intending to, is that F1's evolution hasn't just been about aerodynamics or tire compounds. It's been about philosophy. The sport's soul has shifted. For Hamilton, this isn't just about getting used to a new car or new team. It's about relearning a craft he once mastered. It's about adapting to a world where the car no longer speaks his language, but demands fluency in a new dialect. And that's what makes this story so compelling. This isn't a fall from grace, it's a late career reinvention. It's Miles Davis picking up a synthesizer. It's Picasso trying his hand at digital art. So where does this leave us? With a Magnussen who's content to ride endurance cars into the sunset, offering unexpected wisdom from afar. And with a Hamilton who must find a way to turn friction into flow once again. In F1, speed matters. But timing, real timing, is everything. Maybe Hamilton's greatest comeback won't be a charge from P10 to P1, but his ability to bend this new era to his will. He's done it before. And if history has taught us anything, it's this. Don't bet against Lewis Hamilton when his back's against the wall. Not the kind that spills out in dramatic radio messages or press conference snubs. This is a deeper, more insidious kind of tension. The kind that takes root when philosophies clash, when legacies cross paths, and when a Formula One team suddenly finds itself torn between what it knows and what it hopes for. On one side, Charles Leclerc, Ferrari's chosen son, the kid from Monaco who's worn red almost as long as he's worn a racing suit. On the other, Lewis Hamilton, the seven-time world champion, who arrived from Mercedes not just with trophies, but with the weight of a dream, his own and Ferrari's. The plan was simple on paper. Bring in Hamilton, give him the car. Let him do what he's done since he first burst onto the F1 scene nearly 2 decades ago. But racing, like life, has a way of laughing at even the best-laid plans. Fred Vasseur began the 2025 season preaching equality. Both drivers will be treated the same, he insisted, and for a time that might have been true. But Ferrari isn't just any team. It's a machine of passion and memory, of politics and performance, where tradition hangs in the air like the scent of engine oil. And Leclerc? He doesn't just drive for Ferrari, he is Ferrari. He speaks the language. He knows the engineers by name. He's been part of the family since adolescence. So, when the SF-25 proved to be a twitchy, complicated machine in its early outings, it wasn't long before Charles stepped up, not just as a driver, but as a guide, a compass. He took over the car's development direction. It was a natural move for the team. But for Hamilton, it may have been the beginning of the end of his honeymoon in red. According to a detailed report from Italian outlet Auto Racer, Ferrari has been forced to raise the ride height of the SF-25, partly in response to Hamilton's disqualification in China for excessive plank wear. On paper, it's a precaution. In practice, it's a compromise. The car, now riding higher than it was designed for, has lost vital aerodynamic performance. The front end has been reworked into what insiders describe as a radically unbalanced configuration. Oversteer is everywhere. The rear of the car dances through corners like it's auditioning for a ballet, and not in a good way. And here's the kicker. Leclerc likes it that way. It's not ideal, but it's familiar. It's something he's learned to work around. But for Hamilton, whose driving style has been honed on a decade of surgical precision and rear-end grip in Mercedes machinery, it's torture. He's sliding when he wants to stick, fighting the car when he should be flowing with it. And worst of all, the areas where Ferrari was once strong, tight, slow corners, have become weaknesses. In other words, Leclerc's development path may be extracting the best from the SF-25 for himself, but it's also systematically punishing Hamilton. Enter Arthur Leclerc, Charles's younger brother. Not a full-time Formula One driver, but a skilled tester with deep roots in the Ferrari Driver Academy. He's now behind the wheel of older Ferrari machinery, hunting for data, rhythm, and insight that might explain why the SF-25 feels so alien to Hamilton and how to fix it. It's a rare move, almost poetic in its irony. A Leclerc helping Hamilton unlock a car that another Leclerc helped mold.